Welcome to EduRev.
Hello everyone, welcome to EduRev. This is Sarunandala. In the previous video, we have discussed about the origin of Himalayas. In this video, we will discuss about the division of Himalayas. Okay, so let's just begin. The entire Himalayan region, which is highlighted here in the map and which is spread across many countries, that is geographically divided into three regions. The first one is Himalayan Ranges, the second is Trans-Himalayas, and the third is Eastern Hills or Purvanchal. So I hope there is no confusion here. The entire Himalayan region which is highlighted in the map, that we are dividing into three distinct geographic regions. The first one is Himalayan Ranges, second Trans-Himalayas, and third one is Eastern Hills. Okay. Now let us start our discussion by discussing the first one, which is the Himalayan Ranges. The first division, Himalayan Ranges. Now, the Himalayas are a series of several parallel or converging ranges. So, Himalayas are a series of several parallel or converging ranges. So, what is the meaning of converging? The ranges meet at a point. So, Himalayas are a series of several parallel or converging ranges. Now, these ranges are separated by deep valleys. The most outstanding valleys, that means very large and significant valleys in the Himalayan region are the Valley of Kashmir. We are going to discuss about this. The Kangra and Kulu valleys in Himachal Pradesh, very famous tourist spots. The Doon Valley, Bhagirathi Valley, which is near Gangotri, and the Mandakini Valley near Kedarnath in Uttarakhand. So in Uttarakhand, we have the Doon Valley, the Bhagirathi Valley near Gangotri, and the Mandakini Valley near Kedarnath, and the Kathmandu Valley in Nepal. So these are the most important and significant valleys. Now, what do you mean by valley? So valley will be discussed in detail in geomorphology. This is just like a very brief introduction to you. So valley is a low area between hills or mountains, typically with a river running through it. So in this image, you can find a low area between hills, right? And also you can find a river running through it. So this low area is nothing but a valley. So there is no rule that a river should always be present here, but in most of the cases, a river is present, and most of the valleys are formed by rivers actually. The rivers cut through the mountain range and they form valleys. So anyway, this low area between the hills with a river running through it, this area is called a valley. Clear? Now, let us just look at some of the important valleys. So this is Kedarnath Valley and Kulu Valley. So these are very beautiful, right? Very famous tourist spots. So let me just continue now. The Himalayan ranges are further divided into three parallel ranges, stretching from the Indo-Gangetic Plain in the south to the Tibetan Plateau in the north. So you have the Shivalik range or the outer Himalayas, the middle or lesser Himalayas, and the great Himalayas or the Himatri. So let me just explain this. In the north you have Tibetan Plateau, and in the south you have the Indo-Gangetic Plain. So Tibetan Plateau in the north and Indo-Gangetic Plain in the south. So between these you have three parallel ranges of Himalayas. Okay, so the southernmost one is Shivaliks or simply outer Himalayas. Now the middle one is middle Himalayas or lesser Himalayas, and the northernmost one is greater Himalayas or Himatri. Okay, so here we are dividing the Himalayan ranges. So from Tibetan Plateau in the north to the Indo-Gangetic Plain in the south, you have three parallel ranges of Himalayas. The southernmost one is the Shivaliks or out of Himalayas. So these are nothing but the foothills, a chain of low hills. So we will discuss about these in detail. Don't worry about that. So we are going to discuss about the Shivaliks, the middle Himalayas, and the great Himalayas in detail. So as of now, you just have to understand the division of Himalayas, and you just have to keep in mind that between the Tibetan Plateau in the north and the Indo-Gangetic Plain in the south, you have three parallel ranges of Himalayas. So starting with the southernmost one, Shivaliks or the outer Himalayas. The next one is middle Himalayas or the lesser Himalayas. And the northernmost one is the great Himalayas or the Himadri. Clear, right? So let me just continue. Now, where these ranges are located in India. So just look at this map. The dark blue region is occupied by the great Himalayas. The blue region is occupied by middle Himalayas or lesser Himalayas, and the light blue, this region is occupied by Shivaliks or outer Himalayas. Okay, so let us just look at one more map for the sake of clarity. So the region that is marked 1, this is the region where you find great Himalayas. And the region that is marked 2, this is where you find the middle Himalayas. And the region marked 3, you find Shivaliks or outer Himalayas. Clear? So I hope you got some clarity, guys. So let me just proceed. Now in the eastern section, the Himalayas rise abruptly from the plains of Bengal and Awadh in Uttar Pradesh, and they attain great elevations within short distance from the foothills. But when you come to the western part, Himalayas rise gradually from the plains through a series of ranges. The high peaks are far away from the plains. So let me just explain this with the help of a rough diagram. So imagine this is the western section and this is the eastern section of Himalayas. So we have divided the Himalayas now into western section and eastern section. So we all know that we have the Indo-Gangetic plain, and above the Indo-Gangetic plain you have the Shivaliks or the outer Himalayas, and very close to the Shivaliks in the eastern section you have high peaks. So mountains which are more than 6,000 meters, 7,000 meter or 8,000 meter high. But when you come to the western section, again you have the Indo-Gangetic plain, and then you have Shivaliks, and after some distance you find the high peaks. So in the western section, high peaks are not close to the plain, but in the eastern section, the high peaks or the high mountains are close to the plain. Okay, so in the eastern section, just to the north of the Indo-Gangetic plain, you find the foothills or the Shivaliks. And very close to the Shivaliks, you find peaks which are very high, more than 6,000 or 7,000 meters high. But in the western section, above the Indo-Gangetic plain, again you have the Shivaliks. And after Shivaliks, you encounter a series of ranges which gradually rise in elevation. And then you encounter high mountains. Okay, so just let us go through these points one more time for the sake of clarity. In the eastern section, Himalayas rise abruptly from the plains of Bengal and Awadh. So this is the eastern section. Just imagine that these are the plains of Bengal and Awadh. Just to the north of the plains you have Shivaliks, and very close to the Shivaliks you find very tall mountains, high peaks. But in the western section, Himalayas rise gradually from the plains through a series of ranges, and the high peaks are far away from the plains. When you come to the western section, you have Indo-Gangetic plain, and to the north of that you have Shivaliks, and to the north of that you encounter a series of ranges. And these ranges, they gradually rise in elevation. And beyond that, finally, you meet the high peaks. So in the western section, the high peaks are far away from the plain, but in the eastern section, the high peaks are close to the plain. So in this video, we have discussed about the division of the Himalayan region. So we have understood that the Himalayan region can be divided into 3 distinct regions: the Himalayan ranges, Trans-Himalayas, and the eastern hills. And then we have also divided the Himalayan ranges into a series of 3 parallel ranges. So starting from the south, you have Shivaliks, and then middle Himalayas, and then the great Himalayas. And then we also have discussed some of the characteristics of Himalayan ranges. So in the next video, we are going to discuss about Shivaliks in detail. So thank you so much for watching this video. Keep learning. All the best.